You don't need dysphoria to be trans. Yes, it's the title, but what do I mean by this? And why am I bringing it up now? I've lightly touched this topic in a past video of mine, and I decided I want to elaborate on this in much further detail. It's not new information to hear about the transphobic world that we live in, the attempted erasure of experiences, and how society wants to pretend and push that we don't exist. We do. We always will. We have power together in showing our existence, in showing our experiences, and showing who we are. But some people, in a backwards attempt to try to seem like, quote, one of the good ones, attempts to say that experiences aren't valid and what you feel isn't, quote, correct if you don't experience it in a very, very specific way. If it's not obvious by now, this is a video of me talking about transmedicalism, why it's harmful, why its rhetoric is transphobic, and does nothing but contribute to the transphobic society that we live in. Because guess what, transmeds? Other transphobes aren't gonna like you just because you're trying to meet them in the middle. The fact that you're meeting bigotry in the middle should say enough, but they're gonna see you as trans before anything. They're not gonna favor you. And in any case, you're still hurting other trans people. You're trans if you want to be trans. Simply put, if you feel that you would feel better, happier, more comfortable, or any other positive adjective transitioning, then do it. Why not? You don't have to meet some magical trans enough quota to be able to transition. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you want to be another gender, congrats. You might already be that gender. I'm not going to say anything is guaranteed, but you should at the very least do some introspection, look into the feelings that you have, and learn more about yourself. Even if you decide that transitioning isn't for you, you'll probably learn a lot more than you think. Trans men often like to say that dysphoria is required to be trans, which is simply not the case, and paints the trans experience as an inherently more negative one than it really is. If someone doesn't feel discomfort pre-transition but feels immensely happier post-transition, has never felt dysphoria but has felt true euphoria and elation over getting to express being truly them, why is anybody else trying to gatekeep their experiences and shun the feelings that they're experiencing? Trans people don't have to have it bad. You don't get to invalidate somebody's identity in general, much less just because they, quote, experience less hardship than you. What they're doing is an attempt to box the trans experience, to say that there's only one correct way to be transgender, to try to say that everyone's experience must be exactly the same. And while yes, there are plenty of trans people who experience dysphoria, myself included, that shouldn't be the summary of our experiences. And in fact, summarizing our experiences through that lens contributes massively to the transphobic world that we live in. Let me break apart this answer more directly at the source of my talking point. Transmed stands for transmedicalist. If it's not obvious by the name, this plays into the wrongful medicalization of the trans experience. Being trans is not a medical condition, and neither is dysphoria. These are both experiences that humans can go through, not something that has to be treated. Being trans isn't a negative to your person, nor something that needs to be corrected. It's a unique way that you exist in a world being yourself. And something similar goes with dysphoria as well. Sure, dysphoria can be mitigated by HRT. That's how I mitigate some of my dysphoria. But this isn't the only form that dysphoria exists in, nor is it the only form that it can be mitigated in. Let's use a direct example that I've used previously. Being misgendered via any means is something that can cause me dysphoria. This has no relation whatsoever to anything medical at all. This is something that gets mitigated in a very different way for me. I typically surround myself with people who I know see me as me, and it makes me feel a lot better a lot faster. Or, for example, I can get dysphoria over how I'm presenting. And last I checked, clothes aren't alive, nor are they medical at all, really. The best way for me to mitigate this dysphoria is by presenting myself in ways that I like to present, presenting as me. And one last one, voice dysphoria. I have really bad voice dysphoria, but how do I mitigate this one? With voice training, on my own, nothing medical, just practicing my muscles. My speedrunning muscle memory isn't medical. Why would somebody consider this one any different just because it's a different muscle? My point is, to sum up the trans experience as a medical condition, at best is a misrepresentation of so many lives and experiences. And at worst, and in reality, it serves for society and medical systems to further treat being trans as a medical condition, to discriminate against trans people even further. I mentioned before that, yeah, HRT can just make you happier even if you don't have any dysphoria whatsoever. It's not a requirement. But if we view things such as the NHS and see that they don't allow you to get HRT, something that would make your life much better, simply because you don't fit their definition of dysphoria, people with dysphoria even get denied. It's not something that we should stop people from being able to get. If we have the ability to make someone's life better at the cost of no one else's, why wouldn't we? The trans experience should be focused on the happiness that we have rather than the negatives that we go through. Trans joy itself should be the largest thing to us as trans people, being able to show the positivity, the happiness, the euphoria, whatever positive emotion we may feel. We should be showing that as much as we can. Society wants to paint being trans as a bad thing, wants to paint us as an other that's different from everybody else because of all the hardship that we go through. Why should we let them? Why should we let what, quite honestly, is probably the largest, happiest decision that the majority of us have made in our entire lives be defined by the sadness that some of us go through, rather than the happiness that we now get to experience? We should be proud of who we are. We should be so happy that we get to live our lives as our true selves, no matter what society tries to force upon us. Simply existing is resistance. Trans joy is resistance. We're fighting back against a status quo that wants us gone. And trans meds want to try to make those of us that only feel the happiness gone as well. Focusing only on the negatives that we experience pushes people away from the idea that they too could be trans. It makes it out to be so much scarier than it actually is. The world is horrifying. What the world is doing to trans people is horrifying. Why do we need our very existence to be seen even more negatively? Showing trans joy however we can will give more people an opportunity to see positive trans representation in media, see us as people, and maybe, just maybe, through seeing the joy that we experience, start to look into themselves more and realize they're one of us as well. Why should we highlight negativity and force people to think that them being trans is this horrendous, awful thing they're about to go through, when it's one of the most beautiful things that a being can experience? There's nothing that I will value more that I have ever done than realizing and coming out as trans. There's been no greater happiness than that one. It has fundamentally shaped my life for the better and continues to do so daily. It's who I am. It's a symbol of me. Through all hardship, through all bigotries, that I remain who I am. I am a woman. I will always be a woman, and no one can strip that from me. It's the most positive, affirming, joyous thing that I could ever imagine to experience. And I refuse to let it be summed up to the negative thoughts of dysphoria that I experience. I refuse to let it be summed up to something that I just need to take HRT for. I refuse to let people silence my experience, to silence the happiness I've gone through, the self-discovery that I've made, the ways I've found of presenting that are best for me. I am transgender. I am a trans woman, and that's something I'll always be proud of. And if you're trans, you should be proud of yourself as well. There is no one way to be trans. There's no wrong way to be trans. And to try to say so invalidates so many people's lived experiences. We are inherently being trans correctly simply by being trans. Anybody of any gender can use whatever pronouns they're most comfortable with. Gender does not equal pronouns. You don't have to be a woman just because you prefer she, her. You don't have to use she, her just because you're a woman. You don't have to present in any specific way to validate your gender to society. You are simply valid by being here. You are simply your gender because you are. Any gender can present in any way whatsoever. Any gender can use any pronouns whatsoever. Any gender can be any way whatsoever. We're all unique. Even in the similar experiences that we have, no two people are going to go through everything in the exact same way. And that's the beauty of it. We all have our own stories to tell, our own journeys to be proud of. It's a part of a natural experience. To try to box us all into having the exact same experience is objectively wrong and doesn't let us share all that makes us happy. Thank you for watching, everyone. This was a really important topic for me, and one that I truly hope my passion showed behind. And I hope it's one that you gained a lot from as well, and one that'll sit with you for a bit. But anyways, actually at the time of uploading this, my birthday is soon. I'm going to be celebrating it on stream Wednesday, August 6th at 5 p.m. EDT. So if you want to tell your favorite Red Panda girl happy birthday, I would love to see you there. For this birthday, I actually really want to showcase and share a lot of other gender experiences for my birthday. So I created a form that if you want, feel free to fill out and tell me about your gender experience. And if you give me permission, I'll talk about it and share it on stream as well. If you're seeing this after my birthday and also want to fill out the form, please go ahead. I'd love to read your experiences more directly, and I'll probably end up discussing them on a future stream at some point. I'm also still partner pushing on Twitch at the time of this upload, so if you want to come help me out in genuinely one of the most major ways that you can, come over to my Twitch and hang out with all of us while we have more discussions like this. Anyways, that's all from me now. Thank you all again so much for watching this. I love and appreciate all of you, and if you haven't heard it yet today, I'm proud of you.